Okay, if you guys are ready to get started, you can do so.
Okay, great. Well, hello, everybody. This is Kelly Egan, and I am here to talk to you or to present to you the folks that are responsible for the peer-to-peer training, which is really focused on, as you've read, how we can make a positive impact on fundraising for Guide Dogs for the Blind. Because Lord knows, Guide Dogs for the Blind has certainly given us all some great support through our dogs, through our canes, through our puppies, etc. And it will be great to be able to give back. So today we will be hearing from Larry Meisner, who is our Chief Philanthropic Officer at GDB. His role is really focused on how do we reach various channels and outreach to various channels, such as corporations or individuals, etc., to attract more money to guide dogs for the blind so that we can continue the wonderful programs that are already in place. So this peer-to-peer program, I'm going to let Larry talk to you about because he has invented it. And we will also be hearing from Chelsea, one of the earlier adapters and or pioneers of implementing the program, which will help us all understand best how do we get started. And this program can be used by any of the channels within GDB, whether we be guide dog users or orientation and mobility graduates, alumni, or canine companions or puppy raisers, etc. So it's a great program and will allow us all to attract more funding to GDB to meet our mission. And so that being said, I'd like to introduce Larry Meisner to discuss the program. Hey, Larry.
Hi, Kelly. Hi, everybody. Great introduction. Thank you. And Chelsea and I are thrilled to be with everybody this afternoon or this evening, depending upon the time zone that you're in. So, as Kelly has framed, I'm here to provide an overview and some statistical detail about our new or newish, it's been around since the fall of last year, peer-to-peer do-it-yourself fundraising tool and tactical strategy. And then Chelsea, who is, as I mentioned earlier before the call started, still our largest fundraiser to date, will go into her own experiences and share with you how you too can get involved in a peer-to-peer fundraiser. So let me start with why we did this. Why did we begin and invest in creating a peer-to-peer do-it-yourself fundraising platform? You know, as Kelly stated, I'm charged in my role to deepen and broaden our fundraising or our philanthropic endeavors here at GDB. And peer-to-peer, which I will share in a few moments statistically, you'll understand the magnitude of a initiative such as this. So this was a very intentional strategy for us to build market share, improve competitive positioning, and also deepen our constituent relationships. It really does have very broad reach. So first of all, what is this? For those of you who are unfamiliar with, you know, what are you talking about, Larry and Kelly, when you hear peer-to-peer or do-it-yourself? Oftentimes, though there's a bit of difference, and I'll explain that as well, they're used synonymously. So peer-to-peer do-it-yourself fundraising is primarily, and I'll talk about why I'm emphasizing primarily, but it's primarily an online, fundraising strategy, one in which it inspires the organization's network of supporters to raise more money on behalf of the mission of the organization. So those who are in support, like all of you supporters of the organization, to raise money on behalf of your experience and on behalf of the mission of GDB. The do-it-yourself part is that everybody executes on their own, so they do it themselves, leveraging their own networks to join them in or donate to their fundraising efforts. So this all is really about join me in my desire to support guide dogs for the blind. I'm going to tell you the story why, and I'm going to ask you for your support. We're using a third-party software platform to execute. All organizations use a third-party platform, specializing in this type of fundraiser. Ultimately, the desire is to optimize the end user experience and the organizational outcomes, the fundraising outcomes. I want to mention specifically why we chose the platform we chose, and our platform or our fundraising initiative is powered by DonorDrive. DonorDrive is the software company. We went through a very thorough RFP process with a number of companies. There are many out there who provide this type of service. And we chose DonorDrive because of their commitment to accessibility. Of course, their ease and their constituent experience was critically important, but top of mind for us, and it was a key priority, and that's why we did not go with other platforms, is that they did not have the commitment to optimize accessibility with their platform. It's not perfect. I mean, Chelsea will share that, and others who have experienced this. There are some opportunities for us to develop, and that is what DonorDrive is committed to, making certain that we bring to them, to their attention, ways in which to optimize the accessibility factor. So why is peer-to-peer important? I explained a little bit about what it is. Now I want to explain why it's so important to any organization, and especially us here at GDB. Peer-to-peer do-it-yourself fundraising raises large sums of money through individual event aggregation. So even if there are smaller fundraising outcomes, Chelsea is a wonderful anomaly. But even if there are smaller total fundraising outcomes, those are still significant, because with peer-to-peer and this type of platform, it's our intention to have hundreds, if not thousands, of fundraisers online actively fundraising, and that aggregation of their results will contribute large sums of money to our mission. This also increases event fundraising cost efficiencies. It's very expensive to put on an in-person event. GDB does it, we will continue to do it, but do so strategically. This allows us to have hundreds, as I mentioned seconds ago, or thousands of events in a very cost-effective manner. It engages people in new and different ways, because we have not done this at GDB before. So this is a new way to not only engage those who are going to do the fundraising, but engage new supporters to GDB through this effort. As a side note, peer-to-peer and do-it-yourself fundraising is very interesting in the sense that organizations grow their donor base oftentimes through this channel because of the individuals who do the asking versus the organization's mission. The individuals who support the person who is supporting the mission end up getting connected to the mission, but most often their first point of contact is wanting to support the individual they care about, who cares about the mission of GDB. So it's a very interesting approach to broadening our donor base. It provides an opportunity for anyone to participate. Those who may not have the means to support, to financially give of their own resources, hopefully have the time to invest in spending time to ask others to support the organization based upon their involvement and their own story. As I mentioned earlier, we're acquiring new donors through different resources. And also, like Chelsea and others who are now participating in this, we're identifying some key influencers and some key leaders in our fundraising efforts who can help us be an ambassador to this effort and improve and increase our fundraising efforts through this endeavor. And very importantly, it drives mission information and impact as well. It's a wonderful education and information tool. I'm going to throw out some statistics so that everyone can understand the magnitude of this. I've spoken those words, but here are some data points, and I don't necessarily want to bury us in statistical data, but I think it's important to discuss a bit. So peer-to-peer is ranked, and these are all quantified statistics from various resources. Peer-to-peer do-it-yourself fundraising is ranked as the #1 tactic that prompts donors to give to charities. That's a very powerful statement. It's the #1 tactic. So that's why this is very important that we go into this effort full steam. 39% of Americans say that they've donated to charity based on a request from a friend or family member. That again speaks to what I had mentioned, that oftentimes people are donating to their friend or family member versus the charity until they then get connected to the charity. And this is also an interesting statistic. 38 years old is the average age of peer-to-peer fundraising participants. So I'm not sure everybody's aware, but our demographic is a bit older. And we have an opportunity now through this peer-to-peer platform to build what we call to bring more people into the top of the funnel of our donor base, of our supporter base, so that we can continue our sustainability for another 80 years by bringing in the younger demographic who can carry on our legacy for many years to come. I'm going to share a few more statistics. There are about 10 million nonprofits worldwide and about 1.5 million in the United States alone. About a third of the nonprofits in existence use a peer-to-peer fundraising platform. We were actually a little late to the game. Our colleagues in this field, Leader Dogs and Seeing Eye, they already have a peer-to-peer do-it-yourself platform. So it was incumbent upon us to get on track and to make certain that we are in this area as well and competitive in this area as well. The average amount raised online by participants who set up a personal fundraising page is about $400. And when you hear from Chelsea and I introduce her with her fundraising outcomes, you will see that certainly wasn't Chelsea's average. But it speaks to the masses. And that's why it's important that we get a lot of people. They should not be intimidated by having to raise large sums of money, yet they make a very large impact on the mission of the organization. And about $100 is the average donation size made to participants through a peer-to-peer fundraising platform. Peer-to-peer fundraising, and this is all pre-COVID. COVID threw a wrench into everything, and we're still recovering from a philanthropic standpoint so many years later. But it's a billion-dollar fundraising strategy, peer-to-peer. $1 billion, and that's huge. 6 million people participate in this type of fundraising strategy throughout the U.S. And it has a strong return rate, about 15%, about 25% of individuals actually come back and want to participate from a support and donation standpoint within the peer-to-peer realm. It's a very interesting and enjoyable way for people to support an organization. Throw out some big numbers from other organizations. St. Jude raises $23 million through their program. Children's Miracle Network, $14 million through their peer-to-peer program. American Cancer Society's peer-to-peer program, their Facebook Virtual Challenge, raises almost $12 million a year. So we have great opportunity. We are the second largest guide dog school in the world, the largest in North America. We have the type of brand and positioning of these large organizations I mentioned. Certainly, we're not of the same financial scope, but we have enormous opportunity based upon our depth and breadth of who we are as an organization and our brand. So let me talk about a little bit about the way in which this platform is structured. Just jumping around a little bit to be mindful of time. We structure the peer-to-peer platform in a hub model scenario. And what that means is that those hubs are specific portals through which a fundraiser chooses to fundraise. And they have different capacities. And we're in the process of continuing to build out our platform and continuing to build out the hubs. For those of you who have been on the platform, you've seen that some of the hubs are coming soon. But we're focused on individual fundraisers. So people like Chelsea, who chose to, I'm going to fundraise on my own on behalf of GDB. We then have a hub that accommodates team fundraising, which we've just gotten launched, and actually the board of directors at GDB is actively involved in a team fundraiser, doing very well. We're about to launch a special events hub where that will allow fundraisers who want to put on a special event and have registration or ticket purchasing capabilities that will provide us that. And then we're going to also launch a memorial hub, which is a very important component for any organization, especially GDB, people who want to donate and or fundraise on behalf of someone, canine or human, that they've lost. And actually, that was Chelsea's inspiration. Just didn't have the hub launch, so she could talk more about that. I asked Kelly, as far as best sequencing, because I can turn this over for Chelsea to share, but I do have, before we close the call, a request for everybody on the call on how to get engaged and what we're ultimately looking for. But I don't know if it's best to approach that now or have Chelsea talk about her experiences, maybe have some questions and answers, and then go to my ask and request on behalf of.
This is Kelly. Can you hear me?
I can, yes.
Okay. I would go ahead and suggest that perhaps we get little insights from Chelsea, and then you can go ahead and position your ask, and then we can perhaps open it up to questions from the field that will be handled over the internet. Deb will certainly take care of that. So those would be that would be the order I would suggest.
That sounds perfect. So I then thank you, Kelly. I have the pleasure to introduce Chelsea Bowden. I was just in awe when Chelsea signed up to do a fundraiser with, I don't think you asked any questions whatsoever. You just took this on your own and was truly a trailblazer. First adopter of this platform, and still the highest fundraiser at over $8,000. So it truly is an incredible accomplishment. Chelsea, can't thank you enough for all that you've done, and would love for you to share with everybody why and how behind all of that. So I'm going to turn this over now to Chelsea Bowden.
Okay, thank you, Larry. Yeah, let's see. You talking about the hubs. I don't remember which hub I chose, but basically after my second guide, Stockton, passed away, I realized how much of an impact he had on not only my life, obviously, but the lives of many other people. And I thought, what a perfect time to give back to GDB, because so many people saw Stockton and me on a daily basis working together. And like Larry mentioned, people connecting to an organization's mission through individuals. I believe by watching Stockton and me work together, people got a sense of that even without knowing what GDB's mission is. So I thought, again, what a good time to start a fundraiser. So I am a massage therapist and I work in a gym. And so there's a lot of people on a daily basis that both Stockton and I see. So I thought, okay, well, I'll call GDB and see what resources they have to do a fundraiser. And that's what I found out about the launching of this platform. So I think I'd used a similar platform before. So it basically walks you through the steps in a straightforward manner. There are a lot of pop-up windows that come up. I used screen magnifiers, so I don't know how VoiceOver handles those pop-ups, but in terms of walking through it, once you pick your hub or your way you want to fundraise, the system pretty much walks you through all the steps you need to take. Making a goal for how much money you want to raise, prompts you to create like a Facebook fundraiser, just takes you through all the steps, naming your fundraiser, making a story for your fundraiser, which is like sharing your experience and why you're raising money. So for me, I just said, this is I called it Stockton's Memorial Fundraiser. And I tied it back to Stockton's made a big impact in my life, and I want to give back to the organization GDB, where I got him from. And that was kind of the basis of my story and fundraiser. And then I put that same story on the Facebook fundraiser. And I loved that Facebook actually talks to the donor drive webpage and updates the Facebook page if anybody donates on the donor website and vice versa. So all the programs talk to each other as to the status of your fundraiser, and then allows you to share with your Facebook friends the fundraiser, and they can donate either through Facebook or the donor drive. So I set that all up, and then I thought, well, how do I reach people if I'm not currently at the gym to give them the link to that website? And I don't know, Larry, you were working on a QR code feature. I don't know if that's possible yet, but I just went to a free website to create a QR code. And then I made a little flyer to put at my gym with that QR code on it, so that when people were done working out, they could take their phone and scan the QR code and it would take them to my fundraiser. So that was the way that I didn't have to be there to get more donations. Then from there, I thought, well, Stockton and I visited lots of businesses around town. I'll put some of these flyers in some of the places where we go. So I put one at the place where I would give Stockton a bath, the groomers. I have a mailbox at a post office place, so I put one in there. And I think I put one in one other business as well. So I would just check in on those every once in a while and make sure they knew that they could take the flyer down if needed, but that I really appreciated them putting it up for me. And Yeah, so through sharing with friends on Facebook and the gym people donating with the QR code, the fundraiser was super successful. And actually I wasn't even going to ask any puppy raisers to donate because the puppy raisers already do so much for GDB, but I'm involved with the Snohomish County in Washington puppy raising club, and one of the club members actually donated to my fundraiser because Stockton had mentored almost I think every one of the puppies that she'd raised. So she really appreciated Stockton as a dog mentor and wanted to give back to GDB to support him and me. So that's
Right.
basically my story in a nutshell.
And because Chelsea, so yes, because of Chelsea, we now have a QR code feature.
Oh,
Prior to
awesome.
that, it wasn't even top of mind. So now it's factored into the support area on the site. So yeah, we have a QR code feature because of you, Chelsea. So thank you.
Excellent.
And somebody else I want to mention that you may have heard her name. She had a conflict. She too was going to join and share her story is Jennifer Cosman. Like Chelsea, another early adopter of the program shortly after graduation. She wanted to give back and she started a fundraiser, and um, her and her guide dog Vermont have raised more than $3,000. So another extraordinary outcome from another fabulous grad.
Awesome.
Yeah. Are there questions? Do we want to go there? Next, Kelly.
Deb, are you there?
I am here.
Okay, do you want to describe how questions
Sure.
can be asked?
Yes. So if you have a question for Chelsea or for Larry or whatever, you can raise your hand. There's a raise hand button on your screen, or it is you can use Alt Y on a PC or Option Y on a Mac. And if you are on the telephone, I see we have a few telephone folks. That would be *9 to raise your hand, and then you can unmute yourself from the phone with *6. So if you raise your hand, I will acknowledge your hand, and then you will be given the opportunity to, the raise hand thing will have an unmute button placed next to it. Right now, you don't have a microphone button, but you'll get one. And so we do have a question from Kelly.
Audio now unmuted.
You got it.
Yes, hi. Just wondering, do the people who come to the web page see your goal, or is that a secret?
Yeah, it's a great question. Everybody sees your goal, and I'm really happy that you asked about this. That's one of the most critical parts of the fundraiser, is that you do set a goal and that everyone sees it. So it's very inspiring as they see your quote unquote thermometer, even though it's horizontal and not vertical. They see that grow toward your goal. And you could also adjust your goal. I don't know, Chelsea, if you did that along the way and you could speak to your goal setting, but absolutely it's visible.
I did adjust my goal. I had started at 5,000, and then I got a couple large donations, and I was already at 2,500, and I thought, well, I'm gonna bump it up a bit. So yes, I did change my goal.
Raise hand.
Okay.
Raise hand.
Let's see. I was looking over, we have some questions in the chat box too, so let me give you a couple of those.
Okay.
And so would it be helpful if I would go back there though? Wouldn't it? Yes, I tell you. What am I doing? There we go. So Peter asked, does GDB pay donor drive a flat fee, or is it a commission rate?
It's a great question. So yeah, so I'll share a little behind the curtain, how the fee structure works. There's a $500 a month service fee, and then they charge a transaction fee for all the donations that come through. That's how they make money. It's a minimal, as you could tell, $500 is not much, even over the course of a year to host the platform. And then there's a transaction fee per donation.
Mm-hmm. And Amy asks or comments that graduation would be a great time to promote this. Do we promote this resource during the graduations?
Yeah, great point. We don't yet, but we certainly can, and I'll investigate whether we will. So you're right. It's a great opportunity for us.
Okay. And John, you can go ahead and ask your question. I think it might be up here in the chat as well, but go ahead.
Okay, I'm John from Salem, and my question is, before COVID, we were at full boat with volunteers to become as puppy raisers, and that has recently declined. My thing that I would want to do is help promote that, help get those numbers up. And how can I go about doing that?
Another great question and a need, because as you stated, we need puppy raisers. So my hesitation is that I'm thinking, how this could apply through this peer-to-peer fundraising platform. And, one can always share that part of their story and their desire to help GDB, but the peer-to-peer is really fundraising and doesn't necessarily attract volunteers in the traditional sense. So if your primary objective is to communicate about GDB's need for more puppy raisers, John, if I'm understanding the question correctly, then you could use social media and use other communication channels in the same way you'd use this peer-to-peer platform to share that story and that request. Or as I said moments ago, if you wanted to combine that with fundraising on behalf of the mission, you certainly can use the peer-to-peer platform. As Chelsea mentioned, another major part, not only setting the goal, is telling your story. And there is I think that characters are limitless. So you can tell your story at whatever length you choose. And if that's part of your story and part of your desire to mobilize the community, then you can certainly use the platform.
And I wanted to add as well that GDB has a pre-written story. I forget what all is in there, but if you're not the best writer or don't like writing, you can just add a sentence or two and then go with what GDB has already written.
Great, thank you.
All right, let's see. Whoops, what's going on? Something. All right. We Peter comments also, our Peter Berg, our chair of our Alumni Association board, comments that it's Happy International Guide Dog Day today.
Yeah.
And I saw that this morning and I wondered, so is it only international guide dogs that, I mean, what about our dogs? And
well, we're part of it. Yeah, I don't know, Peter, you want to speak to International Guide Dog Day?
Peter, do you want to make a comment?
Happy International Guide Dog Day, everyone. This is Pete Berg in Naperville. First a comment, then my question. The Alumni Speaker Series, which this is a program of your GDB Alumni Board. So kudos to Kelly and Lee and Ma and Maya for putting together tonight's session, and for Deb and all of her hard work. And Larry, question to you. I had asked the question about the the cost of the platform, and I may have missed this at the end of your answer. Is there a way for donors to cover that transaction cost so GDB does not pay that?
Yes, another great question. So thanks for asking, Pete. So yes, there is that option when an individual wants to donate to a fundraiser. They can select whether or not they want to cover a portion of the service fee, and the manner in which it's set up, it actually covers all of the transaction fee.
That is fantastic. Thank you, Larry. And thank you, Chelsea, for being part of tonight's program.
You're welcome.
Chelsea, before the next question, can you just talk about, were you surprised? I guess I'm just forming my question. Were you surprised at how quickly, and I'll use the word easily, the donations came in? You know, what I hear is those who are unfamiliar with this type of platform, this type of fundraising, are a bit intimidated, such as, oh, I don't really have a network, or I don't know a lot of people, and I don't like to ask people for money. And then once people engage, people are surprised at how much fun and how easy it is. So I would love for you to share your experience around those questions and comments.
Yeah, I think if people have hesitations, just thinking about the fact that people, if you're a guide dog user, people see you and your dog every day, or even if you aren't a guide dog user, people know you. And so if you have a desire to support a cause, even just a few words about why that cause is important to you can really impact your friends and family and whoever you're trying to bring on board with you. So it really doesn't, you aren't really asking for money straight out, so to speak. I mean, you're influencing people to jump on board with you.
Right, thank you. Are there other questions, Deb, out there?
It would help if I would turn on my microphone, wouldn't it? I don't see any right now. Looking. Oh, yes. Kelly has a question.
Audio now unmuted. Zoom.us has new window.
Yes, just wanted to ask, what are the amounts that people give? And do you have research that shows what are the most followed suggestions for amounts, if you will?
Yeah, another important question. So I appreciate what everybody's asking. On the donation form, there are established amounts that people can select, and then there's an other category where people then can enter any amount they choose. What I'm seeing and what statistics say is that people on average give between $25 and $50. What I'm now experiencing we have about 25 or 26 people who are actively, well, some are not actively fundraising yet, but signed up and registered. Their supporters are actually donating on average a higher amount. So in the process, a fundraiser doesn't have to ask for an amount, just share their story and ask people to join them in their efforts of raising money for guide dogs for the blind. And then the amounts are actually shown once people select okay, I'll support you, I'll click on this donate button, and then decide. But so it varies. We're getting $5,000 donations and we're getting $25 donations. But $25 is the smallest suggested amount, and then anyone can donate less if that is beyond their means as well.
Thank you.
All right, Sherry?
Hi, everybody. Sherry Chauvin in Oregon. I have actually two questions. The first is is there an advantage to GDB through this peer-to-peer fundraising versus just us doing like a standalone Facebook fundraiser? And then the second is, do you have suggestions, I guess, for combating sort of donation fatigue? There's a lot of these types of donation requests. Like if I do one, in, memory of my guide dog, then that's good for, a month. And then people maybe, how do I do that again in a couple other months? Like what are your suggestions for that again?
Yeah. So with regard to the Facebook fundraiser, really interesting topic. So yes, anybody, well, because we're a listed and registered charity, obviously. So anybody can go into Facebook and execute an independent Facebook fundraiser that benefits GDB. So Facebook now, or actually I think it's through PayPal Giving, they make money on that effort. And we don't have any trackable data of who's donating. So that information does not come back to GDB. The information stays with the person who put on the Facebook fundraiser. What we want to do is integrate those individuals into our organization in whatever way they want to be integrated. So the benefit of going through our platform, you still can have a Facebook fundraiser, as Chelsea stated. It's literally 1 or 2 clicks, but then we're able to track who's giving, how they're giving, what their patterns are in their giving versus having Facebook hold all that information. And ultimately, it's also a higher net to the mission of GDB.
That makes perfect sense. Mm-hmm.
I want to add.
Go ahead, Chelsea. I'm sorry.
I want to add too on that also the donor drive platform is hooked up with GDB's website. So people can see your goal, your story, but also they have the GDB links at the top of the page. Like people, I forget what they all are at the moment, but people can look at GDB's different programs right from that site. Whereas Facebook, they would have to leave Facebook and actually go seek out the guide dog's website.
Thanks for that, Chelsea. And Sherry, the other part of your question, it's an important topic beyond peer-to-peer. And we talk about this with our direct response efforts because we are intentionally yet consistently sending support requests over and over and over again. So there's this ongoing, I've been doing this for 25 years, and it's this discussion has never ended. How much is too much? How often is too often? When is enough enough? And the answer is, it depends on the individual. But from an organizational standpoint, it really isn't enough. Really isn't enough. And I'm trying to choose my words carefully, and I'm probably not doing as good a job as I would like. But we assume there's donor fatigue because we hear from a very loud but small contingent. People require and actually desire repetition and reminders. People are busy. People's focus is people are distracted by a multitude of things in life. And so we may feel we're bothering, and some ultimately we are. But for the most part, this fatigue is more in our minds and our thoughts than in the reality of the situation. And when that becomes a reality, people will tell us and we stop. But I wouldn't be concerned about the fatigue in these fundraising efforts if they are done thoughtfully, and with that thoughtful positioning, good timing and for good reason. But our organization relies on private donations, and we certainly don't want to badger, but we certainly do want to remind. So we just have to figure out that fine line, which no one has yet figured out perfectly.
And you could put different fun holidays like International Guide Dog Day, or it's my dog's birthday, or it's my birthday. So you could pick different small reasons to have a fundraiser too.
Yeah.
Someone commented in the question box that they made a donation to one of the funds using their iPhone with VoiceOver, and that part of it was very accessible. So that's good to hear.
Good.
Well, that's great to hear.
Okay. And we don't have any additional questions.
So, and maybe this, my next ask will cause some questions. So I'm gonna pose a favor, to all those who are on this call and all those who will listen. Basically, it's to all of our grads. So I would, on behalf of GDB, when I say I, it's really we, so we would love to have more grads engage in this peer-to-peer fundraising effort. To follow Chelsea and Jennifer, and there are other grads who are actively involved right now and doing very, very well on the platform. So if anybody needs to speak or wants to speak with anybody beyond Chelsea, beyond Jennifer, it can certainly connect you with other fundraisers. But what we're seeing in our short history of having this active is our grads are the best fundraisers. Obviously, the most connected to our mission in the most resonant way and have the most wonderful stories that then translate to the best fundraisers. So I would love it on behalf, again, of GDB, if we can engage hundreds of grads, not dozens, but hundreds of grads throughout the US and throughout Canada. We have the capacity to accept and receipt in Canadian currency to get engaged with this fundraising platform in whatever manner they choose. Chelsea said there's a number of ideas around which you can fundraise. And to do so, and this is something that Amy Salger and I spoke about in a larger team meeting, we'll employ some incentive prizes for you to do so. So if we can get a strong contingent of grads who are committed to doing this, we will incentivize, which is not uncommon within the peer-to-peer do-it-yourself fundraising world, certain fundraising milestones. We'll attach a little swag as motivation and inspiration. So that will be part of this, part of our commitment to you. If that's important, some people don't want swag and maybe have enough. The other component that was discussed that we have employed is, I'm not sure if everybody's familiar with Olab Media. And Olab Media is a specialist in accessibility. And we have discussed with Olab Media that they would be available for accessibility questions and accessibility assistance should somebody have challenges with the platform. As I said early on in the discussion, the presentation, Donor Drive is committed to optimal accessibility, but there are still some, Chelsea mentioned pop-up windows, that screen readers, it gets a little confusing. And therefore, Olab Media is going to make themselves available. I mean, it won't be instantaneous. They're not going to be on the phone or online 24/7, but they did say that they can, and they've done a lot of testing, and they've written all of the helpful components in the resources area of the platform around accessibility. So I'm hoping that that availability, as well as maybe, some gifts around incentivizing fundraising will help more grads get involved and raise wonderful sums of resources for GDB's mission. So that's my ask. That's my plea.
John?
Hi, I had a quick question. Have you folks ever thought about, and I don't know how you go about this, reaching out, you know how the grocery stores, when you go to a grocery store and they say, hey, you want to round up your 11 cents to make it even? Could we get a part of that donation, or is that something we're not accessible at?
No, it's a great idea, and I'm laughing only because in my previous organization, we've done that with great success, and it's absolutely possible. We have done a little bit of it with Macy's, but local versus national. So it certainly is on our radar. And if anybody on this call has any connections with any retailer, sometimes it's called a pin pad campaign or a roundup campaign, as you mentioned, John, is a wonderful fundraising strategy to execute. And we're working on more connections. There's a lot of competition in that arena, and we keep trying, but it's all based on who you know. But it's absolutely something that we do and we want to do more of.
Okay, that pretty well wraps up our questions again.
Well, thank you all. Thank you for the time. Thank you for the questions. And thank you for the opportunity to share this. And thank you to all those who are on the call and have already engaged in our platform. I'm not sure who's on, but I know that we have a number of grads engaged in our peer-to-peer fundraising efforts already. Thank you, Chelsea. And I'm available at any time if anybody wants to reach out to me. Happy to help in any way that I can.
All right, let's see, one more question. Who just disappeared. Maybe we'll come back. Let's see. Oh, he dropped. Okay, he dropped. Oh, there he is. Okay. I can't pronounce your names. You tell me what your name is. When you get unmuted there. There you go.
Hello, this is Harastu. I am from San Diego. You know what? I may be able to bring Petco to the game for the fundraising. Would you please remind me that type of fundraising name again?
Oh, it's if we were talking about what John was mentioning,
yes.
It's a roundup campaign. So that means somebody's bill for their purchase is $12.62. Would you like to round up to $13? And then GDB gets that balance. Or a pin pad campaign where when somebody swipes their credit card and if the company uses a pin pad at checkout, then a message comes up, would you like to donate to Guide Dogs for the Blind? And then we'll say yes, $1, $5, $10. So there's those are the two most popular ways. So that would be wonderful. If you have a connection with Petco, I'm happy to help in any way that I can with any type of information, but that would be fabulous.
Let me see. I think it's a relevant business too, as the matter like that people with pets,
yes,
they be willing more to give this type of donations. I will see and get you guys updated. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sherry.
Just one final quick question for me. Will you be following up with another email
Oops, I'm sorry. I just nailed you, Sherry. You'll have to unmute again. There you go.
Okay, no problem. Will there be a follow-up email on this with the link? Because I know that you sent one probably like what, December, but will be an update to that?
There can be. It sounds like that there's
Well,
a
how
design.
I would just need to go back into my email and find it, from December when it was sent out, or is there another way to access how to start up with the link to the peer-to-peer fundraising hub on the GDB website? Or
Yes, it's on the website, but why don't
okay.
I mean, to that point, Sherry, why don't I think it would benefit everybody to follow up with an email with the link and maybe a few how-tos.
Okay, that'd be great. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for asking.
Okay, now it looks like we're done with questions.
Okay.
Okay.
Close to the top of the hour. I think we
right.
did pretty well with timing.
Thank you all. Kelly, do you want to wrap us up? You're muted, Kelly.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can.
Yes.
Okay, sorry about that. Anyway, I just wanted to thank everybody for joining. I wanted to thank Larry and Chelsea and you, Deb, and Pete, of course. I want to thank all the great questions. And boy, is this exciting. Thank you all for participating. And I hope we all can raise a bunch of money and continue to support this amazing organization. So thank you and have a great rest of your evening. And we'll talk to you again in 3 months at the next speaker series next quarter.
Thanks, everybody.